it up, come to the show. We got some things we can talk about. Chop it up, chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it up, chop it. We got some things we can talk about. Chop it up, chop it, chop it, chop it up, chop it up, chop it. We got some things we can talk about.
You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop with your host, Pastor Marvin McKenstry Jr. Let's chop it up.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Chop Shop. I'm your host, Pastor Marvin, and I'm excited, as always, to bring you good quality content. And tonight is not going to be any different than any other. But before we go any further, I got to welcome on the screen my right hand and my left hand. He's my main man, Mr. Shaka Pitts, on the ones and twos, making the magic happen. Techniques 1200, because anything else is uncivilized. Shaka, what's going on with you, man?
Marv, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. And look, I get to do more intros because I got to bring on the screen the lady of the hour, too sweet to be sour. We talking about the one and only Miss Hot Take herself. That's the name I gave her, Miss Hot Take. Miss Hot Take herself, Lady Lisha in the building. Lady Lisha, what's going on?
Not much. You know how I do. Just trying to stay cool in the hot climate.
I know that's right. We got to stay cool, boy, because it was hot out there today. And listen, I caught myself out there. I was flying and fly. I had my mustard-colored jacket on, looking like I was an NFL Hall of Fame the whole time. Well, I was sweating bullets. I'm trying to tell you, I couldn't get in there and change clothes fast enough.
Listen, it was. I told people I almost boycotted Sal's Pizzeria today. You know what I mean? It was a little hot for me today, brother. You know, so
do the right thing.
Yeah,
out there, huh, man?
Yeah, man. Yeah, caught me off guard today, man.
Yeah, man, they say Memorial Day is the unofficial start of summer, man, and I'm telling you, it definitely brought the heat with it. But we're going to bring the heat tonight, and I need y'all to be prepared because we got a main contributor, one of the favorites to this show, my pastor, Pastor Antoine Burton, in his stead as the president of the We Are Us Men's Movement, y'all, and we're going to talk, as we've been hearing about, is warming up, the summer heat coming, and everybody talks about the trouble that's coming along with it, but we're going to look at some of the things that are already in place to make a difference. So before we get into that, we got to run these church announcements. I don't know what happened. Shock used to play the organ music behind me while I was giving
I got you, yo. I got you.
Yeah.
I did have the organ. I did have the organ.
Hold that E flat.
Yeah.
See, yeah, we need to hold that E flat. All right, y'all, the Stop the Beef Hotline. The Stop the Beef Hotline has been out there, and it's been making a difference in the community, y'all. Listen, it's a product of the We Are Us Men's Movement, 10K Power, Unity Engagement. It's all about making a difference in the city. 443-431-3705, 443-522-7848. When you call those numbers, there's going to be a man that answers on the other end, and we do all levels of intervention. We've had to pay bills sometimes, and sometimes we've had to get people out of harm's way, but whatever it takes, we will make sure that life is preserved in the city of Baltimore. Walking hand in hand with it is the Baltimore Peace Agreement, another product of the We Are Us Men's Movement, man. We Are Us, boots on the ground, making it happen all the time in Baltimore City. And the Baltimore Peace Agreement is the brain product, the brain trust of men who are behind the walls, men who are on the street, men who used to be out there, men who don't never want to be out there, but everybody coming together and collaborate to put together this 10-point process to make sure that there's 10 agreements amongst people. And basically it says even if you got to eat in the streets, you ain't got to die or kill in the streets. All right? The Mayor's Office of Employment Development, the Employee Baltimore Show with yours truly. Today we had Allied Security on. They're hiring, need people, $17.75 for entry-level security guards with no experience, no guard card, no credentials. Man, go get that bag, but tune in every Thursday because you know I'm the plug. All right, y'all, the next phase of the great work that we're doing. Listen, y'all, we are fast approaching 2 years of no murders, no non-fatal shootings in my beloved Lexington Terrace, Poppleton, whatever you want to call it, community. And what we're doing to avert some of what people are in fear of for the coming warm months is we're putting together a flag football league that's going to be specific for the 5 communities that makes up my neighborhood, that makes up the Poppleton community. It's going to be free for kids who live down in that area. We're looking for volunteers that can do everything from coach to help out, to help mentor the kids. All we need you to do is to click that QR code on there and register for the program. We're going to be out in the mass registration probably this coming Saturday, well, next Saturday, mass registration to try to sign every young person in the neighborhood up ages 7 to 17. Y'all, let's make it happen. Let's give our youth something to do so they won't be in trouble. Okay, it's Men's Month, and my brother is first up on deck, Pastor Andre Nance of the New Mount Sinai Church. We know we call him the Miracle Man. He talked to us last year after he beat a heart attack, y'all, and I mean, he beat all the hell out the heart attack. The brother then dropped a whole bunch of weight and looking slim and looking good, and he's going to be in the house preaching on Sunday morning. This is my chill out month, so a couple of my brothers going to come through. Make sure 10 a.m. on Sunday, come in the house. Bring your brother, your father, your uncle. Bring the men in the house, y'all. This month is going to be men's emphasis. We're going to be focusing on celebrating the brothers. The Afro Soul Festival. Listen, I talked to my sister Kim Yancey, who is one of the organizers. She said they done been hit up so much on the Eventbrite with the RSVPs. What we talking about today is volunteers. Y'all, they need people to come and make the event great. I have a link for volunteers. I'm going to be posting it later. If you're interested in coming out there and being a part of what's going to make this Afro Soul Festival be elevated to the next level, y'all, I need y'all to click that link and register. We need volunteers, y'all. We can give young people community service hours as well.
And Black Chakra is fire too.
Yeah, Black Chakra is fire. They told me they don't want
Yeah.
me advertising more people to come because they at their limit. Y'all hear that? All right, y'all. We talking next week. My brother Bishop Donnie Neal gonna be there. Listen, y'all, this month gonna be it for the brotherhood. Y'all make sure y'all come through because we got the men in the house. I ain't gonna talk a whole bunch about it. We want to focus on this coming week with Pastor Andre, but I need y'all to make sure y'all in the building. And then next Sunday afternoon, my main man Jake Grass is gonna be coming through. He's going to be coming in the building, and he's going to be bringing the word of God to the men. It's our brotherhood service. We want all the men to come out for that. We're going to try to find a men's shelter or somebody that we can be a blessing to. So y'all make sure that you in the building for the second Sunday at 3 p.m. I don't know, my pastor on here, him and the men from CLM might be able to slide through. We're going to see if they can come through with us. I don't know, put them on the spot when I get them on the air. What you think, Shy?
Of course.
Ain't that how you get them? Put them on the spot when you get them on the air. All right, y'all. That's our church announcements for this week. As always, govern yourself accordingly, as we would say in the church. If you have any church announcements and you'd like for us to put them out there on to our audience on the Chop Shop, I need y'all to make sure that you send that to me either by inbox or whatever the case may be, and we'll make sure that we get your announcements out as well. All right, y'all, we are moving into what we come here to do, and I'm excited about this conversation because I had taken some time away from the movement myself. I had to regather me, collect myself, whatever you want to call it. I had to get me together after losing the queen of my life. Had to put some focus on my own healing. And this coming Monday, the first Monday in June, I will be back out here in these streets with my brothers. But in anticipation of getting back out here in these streets with my brothers, I do have the president of the We Our Us Unity Men's Engagement Movement.
Try it again.
I done said this 1,000,001 times. I don't know what's going on tonight, but we do have him here. He's also the pastor and founder of Changing Lives Ministry of Baltimore, along with his wife, my other pastor, Pastor Shelley Carter Burton. We're talking about the one and only Pastor Antoine Burton. What's going on with us, Pastor?
That's Marvin. Hey, man, how are you? To you and to your co-host. Thank you for having me. Certainly, always an honor to be able to share with you and those that's on your platform. Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm excited, man. I'm hoping that the signal can hold up. I see you trying to race to the house. My signal been acting up all day, man. I'm on a whole nother computer, but we ain't gonna let nothing deter us from this conversation. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your role in We Are Us?
Yes, sir. My name is Antoine Burton. I serve as pastor along with my wife and founder of Changing Lives Ministries of Baltimore. Also, honored to serve as president of the We Are Us men's movement here in the great city of Baltimore. Certainly, it's been an honor of serving in that capacity and serving the people of Baltimore.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's a lot more to you than that, but we're gonna let you pause right there. Tell the people a little bit about the We Are Us Men's movement. We know the movement has been around now for maybe what, 4 years, four and a half
5 years. We're in our
years,
fifth year now.
5 years, fifth year.
Yep.
Man, that's awesome. That's an awesome statement because there, you know how the song say there's many started out with me, but now they all gone. But I'm still holding on. Talk to us, man, because in those 5 years we've seen so many changes, a pandemic, and so many other things that have happened. Um, so many things that have happened, but yet the men are still out making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. In our fifth year now, going strong, and I believe consistency is part of the foundation and fabric of We Are Us. And we've been able, one of the areas that I absolutely love, in which you have been a tremendous part of, and actually helping us to launch this part of the organization. We've been able to assist, and we take pride in this, man. More than 2,500 black men with employment. More than 50% of those individuals are ex-offenders, and you have been intricate and key in partnering We Are Us with ex-offender friendly employment. And certainly we thank you for the role that you play with We Are Us. We could not have done this without you. Every single Monday and every single Saturday, we get a chance to go out and engage the community in something that you allowed us to be introduced to, was bringing employment right to the front doorsteps of individuals. So we have been absolutely excited about that opportunity. And it's because of your involvement and because of your engagement with the organization that we've been able to do that, not only with the employment, but also serving as mediators. We thank God for being able to mediate a plethora of beefs here in the city of Baltimore. We thank God that we have a 0% retaliation rate. And again, it's been with no police involvement. And that's because of the credible messengers that are part of We Are Us, and also because of the relationships that we have with those in the community, which I call those community influencers. We know who those individuals are.
Man, I'm excited, and it's been my honor to serve, and specifically to serve in this work, because I tell people all the time, this has been the most grassroots, straight in your face work that I've ever done, and I'm a straight in your face in the street kind of guy. We've been hearing a lot of people kind of talking in lieu of the summer months coming, and I don't even know if it's an old folks tale or wives tale, or if people ever actually really did a study to see if there's really a major uptick in violence and things of that nature during the summer months. Um, I do know that the numbers do support that notion. But this year, there's been so many proactive things that have been put in place to make sure that the city and its partners, like We Are Us, are prepared. Talk to us a little bit about some of the work that We Are Us is already involved in, as it pertains to being out in front of a lot of the violence.
Yeah, absolutely. We thank God for the opportunity we had to sit down at City Hall. We Are Us, State's Attorney Ivan Bates, along with our mayor. We've been able to sit down and kind of talk through the curfew and what it was going to look like before the mayor announced it to the city of Baltimore. And then we had a chance to sit with the commissioner and really talk through some things. And as of last weekend was our first weekend out engaging our young people in this curfew. And I'm sure you're going to talk more about it. And our specific areas of assignment will be Fells Point and Federal Hill. You'll see a plethora of We Are Us men down there in the We Are Us gear, and we'll be engaging our young people. While we know the media, and not your media platform, but we have other media outlets that, that come on at 10 p.m. I won't call no names, and they like to show the worst of Baltimore. They love to show the young people doing some wrong things. But one of the things that I believe the media need to talk about was the success of this past weekend. Our young people had an amazing time, man. It wasn't much violence that took place. They did not have anything that went wrong in Federal Hill and Fells Point at the Inner Harbor. Our young people went out there. They had a great time. Thank God for the mayor and his team providing some of the outlets. They were partying out there until it was time for them to go home. And then down at City Hall, they're opening up. They're putting an outdoor skate rink there. So even after hours, the young people can go there and skate. Then they have the midnight basketball. They're bringing that back to the recreation centers, and there is a plethora of events for young people to engage in. My prayer and hope is that platforms like yours will begin to put that out there so people will know. So this is what We Are Us has been engaging with, and this is what we have been doing. And certainly we love the opportunity to help steer our young people to these outlets.
Shaka.
Good evening, Pastor. How you doing?
I'm good, Shaka. Always a pleasure, brother.
Outstanding, outstanding. So you actually answered one of my questions, which was going to be, what exactly is We Are Us doing with this curfew jumping off? Like exactly what part are you guys playing? But you answered that. So my follow up to that is, how are the young people responding to that? Like, what is are they like? Man, this is whack. This is bogus. This is. Or are they like, all right, we good? Like, how they rolling with that? Number one. Number two, why Fells Point and Fed Hill and things of that nature? Is that because that's the hot spot for white Baltimore? I mean, well, I ain't got nothing else to say to that, but yeah, that's the question.
Yep.
Those are the questions.
Great questions, man. So I want to answer the first part of your question. The young people have been, and they have been extremely responsive. And when the mayor rolled this out, the first thing that people thought was, "Oh, the police are going to really engage our young people, and it's going to be a problem." Really, the police, they have not really been engaged. They're sitting back and they're watching and allowing grassroots organizations as well. There are a plethora of volunteers. I've been shocked to see them come forth to volunteer with the curfew. So the young people, they have been responsive. The police have not really engaged them. They've allowed organizations such as We Are Us to get out there and engage and to communicate. That's important, to communicate, because these young people, they're not criminals, and we're not going to treat them like criminals. They're citizens of Baltimore City, and so that's what we've been doing. We've been treating them like citizens of this city, and they've been extremely responsive. Why those spots, Shaka? And while we know perception, why Federal Hill, why Fells Point, why the Inner Harbor, we believe that's the capital of the city of Baltimore. But actually, those are hot spots for our young people. Our young people show up in groves in those areas, and we want to make sure that we engage our young people because they should be invited to those communities as well, as long as they know how to represent themselves and as long as they know how to act. So I believe that those areas have been selected as hotspots, not because of the areas that it's in, but actually, when you look at the data, those are hotspots and gathering spots for our young people. Our young people, they gather there in groves, and I'm not talking 10 and 20. I'm talking hundreds. So we want to make sure that our young people are able to get up there, have a great time, but at the same time, they're held accountable so that they do the things that they need to do so they don't get in trouble.
Copy that. Thank you for the answers, brother.
So,
Yeah.
Pastor, I have a follow-up question to that because you mentioned that they represent themselves well. Do we have anything in place to actually teach our young people what that means to represent themselves well? Because this generation is just a little bit different than the way we were brought up.
Yeah. Great question. I appreciate that. So while you have organizations like We Are Us and even Pastor Marvin and his church, and you have a plethora of organizations around this city, we also need to make sure that the parents and those guardians are held accountable as well. The police commissioner can't do the job of a parent. These grassroots organizations can't be the parents. However, some of them may look to us as father figures and as mother figures. We really need to get these parents, these aunties, these godmothers, these grandmothers. We have to get them engaged in the process. And a lot of the young people, I say this, it's not their fault. Because they've been introduced to a culture and this is all they know. While you have some people that are sitting on the sideline, they know better. They really don't know better. This is what they know. And you have some of these young people who are playing the parents in the homes. They're going out there and they used to squeegee. Thank God that process it's not like it used to be. Again, with the assistance of We Are Us, but some of those young people are out there squeegeeing because they had to pay the BGE bill or they had to make sure that their little brothers and little sisters had to eat. And This is the real. Pastor Marvin can tell you that a lot of these issues are real life issues that's impacting the lives of our young people. However, we know we have some that's mixed in there that are just bad apples, and we need to deal with them and we need to hold them accountable.
Well, it's good to see that the mayor has opened up so many lanes of activity because I was one of those young people that knew how to find me some trouble, and sometimes the trouble was recreational that we
Yeah.
found because there wasn't much else to do in a lot of the areas. How much of this is going to translate into some positive permanent change in the sense of opportunities? Is it just looking like it's going to be something to get us through the summer months so the young people get back to school? What's the overall plan?
That's a great question, and I do believe that the mayor is going to number one, he's got to continue to bring these stakeholders to the table, and I got to call people out, and I'm sorry if they get offended. Baltimore City Schools, listen, you've got to bring people to the table. And I'm not calling people by name, but what's in place is not working. So after the summer months, once we complete this process and the curfew is successful, after Labor Day, guess what? Those young people have to go back to a culture that did not work this year. What's next? What does it look like? What is the school system prepared to do? And those are questions that need to be answered, and they need to be answered immediately because we can't go back to the way things were this school year. Then once the kids get out of school, what do we have in place for them to engage in so that we don't have trouble the way we did this year? So those are some great questions, Pastor, and I believe those stakeholders need to be brought to the table, and people need to be held accountable for what they're being paid to do.
Pastor, one of the things that we're connecting next in the community where my church is and where I serve is to put together a flag football league for the kids specifically. It will be address driven. We don't want kids coming from Owens Mills to come and play in this league. It's specifically
Absolutely.
designed to impact that area. One of the things I think that gets kind of lost in translation lately is when you hear "we are us," that people forget that most of the men who started this movement are faith-based men who work in faith institutions. Talk to the faith community about some of the things that are available for them to get connected to and some possible opportunities for them to contribute to what's going to make a difference this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. While we have some pastors, and you know this, we have some pastors that believe that it's going to take more than just the resources we give out. Truth be told, prayer is a resource. You know, prayer is a strong resource. And to that pastor, that faith based leader that believes in the power of prayer, as you already know, we engage in prayer while we're out there in the communities. It's not just food. It's not just employment. It's not just treatment. We're also bringing the power of God, and we're bringing the power of prayer outside of the four walls. So there are a plethora of evangelistic opportunities for faith-based leaders to engage in while we're out in the community. And here it is right here. Truth be told, you may have some people that may never walk through the church doors. So the church need to be the church and come to the streets and meet the people where they are. You don't need a sanctuary to introduce people to God. You know what I mean? You don't need a pulpit to introduce people to God. The streets Park Heights is a pulpit. You know, North Avenue is a pulpit. In the North is a pulpit. Baltimore and Fayette, those are pulpits. So we need to turn these streets into pulpits and bring the good news of Christ Jesus to these streets. So there are a plethora of opportunities for faith-based leaders. Everybody is not equipped to do the engagement work that we do, to do the mediation work that we do, but everybody is equipped to do something.
So, Pastor, you spoke about accountability. What does accountability look like? Like, what does that look like for these organizations or entities?
Yeah. Now, when you speak of the organization, are you speaking of the grassroots organizations or these civic government organizations?
Well, I guess both, because if people aren't doing what needs to be done, I guess is it program wise or policy wise, right? So either I guess so. So yeah, program wise on this side, right, and policy wise on that side, right? If they're not doing what should be done, what is accountability? I mean, we know, okay, get out and vote, okay, cool. But what about these grassroots organizations that are getting funded, they're getting the money, the checks maybe have already been cut? You know, what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we do have organizations here in the city of Baltimore that have been receiving funding for years, and they have not produced what they were supposed to produce. But then you have other grassroots organizations who have been extremely effective without funding, even though they need funding immediately to do the work. People need to be accountable. Some people get funding because they're connected to somebody or because they know somebody. The truth is what it is. But when you look at the track record, we should start asking people, where is the data? What have you done? Can you show us the work that you've done? But then when you look at the government agencies, again, like Baltimore City Public Schools, it's not working. The system that is in place is not working. We have to do something different. There's no way that we can be one of the highest paid school districts in the state of Maryland, but yet we are not equipped. We're not equipping our children. We're failing our children. We're not doing what we need to do to make sure these children are equipped. Something is wrong, and we got to hold people accountable. And we can't continue to use a broken system and expect our kids to be successful in it.
Pastor, I'm excited about these bold declarations that are coming forth
Man, I
today.
hope I don't get in trouble, man. I'm hoping I don't get in trouble. But I got to speak my heart.
Listen,
We see this, Pastor Marvin. We know what's going on in the city, man. We have to call folk out. We have to.
a failing school system is a gateway to everything negative in our community and for our specifically for our young people. And when we look at our young people, because we're gonna shift, I want to talk about some of the other work that's happening in and around violence prevention and catch up on just some of the impact. Because while the mayor said that there was a 5-year plan, we are finding ourselves at this point to where we're starting to see some trends move downward. And people talk about GVRS and some of the other things that are happening, and that's great work. I get the privilege of being a part of that work. But I do want to talk about the fact that we were looking at some things statistically, and the numbers in the communities that have been concentrated on by We Are Us have taken a drastic turn down in non-fatal shootings and in murders.
Well,
It looks like Pastor's frozen, but we do have a question from one of the listeners on the
Okay.
screen. So they're asking, what's the age range for the curfew?
So that age range should be 17 and under, and there are different times for that 16 and under. There's a different time for them, and then you have that 17 and under. I'm sorry, for the 15 and under. Then you have the 17 and under curfew. So it's a 17 and under curfew that's in place.
Copy that. And also, there's another part to Mickey's question is what happens, if someone's not following that. So what happens, if there's a youth that doesn't follow the curfew?
I believe the mayor and the state's attorney they released something about citations that's going to be given out for those young people. And again, I want to say this for single individuals again. And I thank God they're not going to do this. The police will not be engaging and policing single individuals. The police will be engaged when there are a mass group of young people that will not disperse after the curfew. That's when they will get engaged. But for young people, single individuals that won't be responsive, that's where you have grassroots organizations such as We Are Us and volunteers that's going to be out there to engage our young people. We want to make sure that we try to deter them from doing anything that's going to get them in trouble. So again, that's where you have We Are Us and other grassroots organizations, along with volunteers, that's going to come in and they've been trained in mediation. They've been trained in engaging our young people. So we want the young people to know that, listen, we're advocates for you. We're not your enemy. We're not the police, but we're here to make sure that you are safe. We're here to make sure that you're okay, and that's the message that we want to push, and that's what we're trying to do and accomplish.
so these sites,
Lisha, I know you. I'm sorry, Lisha. I know you have something to say. I just want something still attached to that, and then I'll let you go. If you don't mind. Um, so what about what about like the bicycle guys, the bike boys, right? They're just riding through the city, and they may not be standing in one spot. They may not be causing. They're just riding through the city. How was that? Just can you speak to that? And I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, again, so I can't get in. I don't know the mayor's plan for that. So again, I do know the target areas for We Are Us will be Federal Hill, and Fells Point. Those will be our two target areas. Anything else going across the city, I'm not sure how what the mayor has planned to engage as far as that's concerned. These young people that are riding through it, the city unlawfully doing what they do. That's not acceptable. We can't have that, because not only will they injure themselves, they're bringing havoc to certain communities who don't want that noise. They don't want that havoc going through. So again, we know the consent decree. We know what's in place. We do know that Baltimore City Police, for the last couple of years, they've stopped chasing the young people that's on these dirt bikes. So I'm not sure what the mayor's plan is as far as that's concerned. I'm not sure what BPD plan is. But I will say, unfortunately, we have to find a way to send that energy elsewhere, to make sure, again, these young people that love riding those bikes are able to do it in a safe place. Now, I will say this, Shaka, while I know the city is talking about this dirt bike park, I'm a realist. I'm from Park Heights, born and raised. Truth be told, everybody not going to go to the bike park. So there are going to still be some that wants to ride through the city unlawfully and do what they do. And I think there needs to be a plan put together so that they'll know how to engage these young people. Thank God that these bikes, the number of bikes that are being taken off the streets, that number has come down. So I'm sure they have another plan as to how they can be even more successful.
Mhm.
Thank you, Lisha.
Pastor, I want to go back to the repercussions. So, if they're caught on the street, they're going to issue citations, which I'm assuming would legally be applicable to the parents. Is that a attempt to draw the parents in to actually have some type of involvement in the outcome of their children being on the street? Because I'm seeing these kids throwing the citation in the trash. Like, I don't see that really making a difference unless it gets all the way home.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, I'm not sure the process of the citations or what information is being taken. But I will say this: parents have to get engaged. They got to get big brothers, big sisters. We have to get families engaged, because if the families are not engaged, you can't expect our organization, BPD, the mayor's office, Pastor Marvin and his church. You can't expect everybody else to do the job if you have nobody in the family that cares or even concerned about knowing what their young people are. We're going to continue to do this work, but also we have an obligation and a responsibility to find a way to get parents engaged, to get parents involved. Some of these parents, they may need to take parenting classes because they wasn't parented the right way. So they're passing down what they know. So it's very important that we get somebody from the family engaged, and we gotta hold them accountable as well. It can't all be on the shoulders of our young people.
So how do we do that though? When the conversation we had last week, we identified the fact that most of these parents are just as immature as the kids that we have on the street. Grandparents are 30, 35, 30, so how do we do that when we're dealing with a generation of immaturity?
So let's go back. Let's go back for just a second, because while we know we're coming into the summer months and we're dealing with the curfew, we got to start at the school, because if there's no accountability for our young people at school, guess what? They're going to do the same thing out in the streets. We have to find a way with the school system. They have to find a way to get parents engaged. They have to find a way to get these parents to come out to the schools. How do you do that? I don't know, but it has to start somewhere, because if we begin to create a culture in a space that they're at 5 days a week, guess what? It'll follow them in the summer months. So what does it look like to get parents engaged? I don't have an answer for that, but what I can tell you is, from a We Are Us perspective, one of our covenant brothers, Baltimore brothers, Captain Andrew and his guys, they did a fantastic job with a graduation of young black men on yesterday from their life coaching group over at the Isle of Erect. Guess what? They had parents that showed up. They had some of their young men in shirts and ties, 60 or 70 of them. They found a way to get parents engaged, and to get parents engaged in the celebration of a graduation of a 2 to 3 day a 2 to 3 day a week program that they've been engaged in. We have to get creative with getting these parents and family members engaged.
I think that one of the things when we talk about parents that goes overlooked is that sometimes the parent isn't somebody who is not trying to be about a good work. We have seen in several cases where we've had mothers pleading when their children get into the mischief. What am I supposed to do? Not work? Am I
Yeah,
not supposed to earn a living? Am I not supposed to take care of my other children? It's a plethora of different
yeah,
things, and some of it is valid stuff, right? When we look at the village, when you talk about the Oliver, the Baltimore brothers had the Oliver Rec Center. You got CLM. I have Victory House Worship Center as places to be able to do programming. What are some of the things? Because and this is something that I just want to say. Political connectivity is not there to support some people who have great ideas, who have things that they want to do. What are some of the things that people can do to get connected so that they do have simple resources like a place to be
yeah.
able to help the kids if it's their desire?
That's a great question, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble because I'm gonna call out some of our brothers and sisters right now. So it doesn't take a lot of money to do after school programming. Imagine if every church, and I'm gonna stick with the church because I'm a pastor. Imagine if every church in this city opened the doors of their church after school and provided a space for the young people, provided snacks. You don't need government money to do small things. Some of these young people need a space. If you allow them to use the church's Wi-Fi to do after school, to do work after school because they don't have Wi-Fi at home. Imagine if every church in this city opened the doors up and allowed the youth within a 10-mile radius of that church to come in and to use that as a space. Imagine the difference that the faith community could make here in the city of Baltimore. These are just ideas. You get involved, Pastor Marvin. You find a way with the little bit of resources that you have. You have engaged those young people over at Lexington Terrace. When we walk through Lexington Terrace, those young people and those parents, they know who Pastor Marvin is. If a pastor walks outside of their church and nobody in the community knows the pastor name, then that pastor has failed the community. If the community don't know you, I'm getting in trouble. If the community don't know you, they don't know your
No,
name.
you waking
If
up
the
shocking.
only
That's what
thing,
you're doing.
if the only thing you're doing is taking up parking spots on Sundays in Bible study where they live, you have failed that community. Get out of your churches, go shake somebody's hand, go down to the block where they're selling dope, let them know who you are. And that's what we've got to do.
Shaka, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go because I know he just tapped on your shoulder, brother.
Nah, listen, man. Listen, man. He said everything, man. Like, because again, I'm in the season of not holding water, man. I feel like we protected wrongdoers because we don't want drama. I feel
Absolutely.
like we protecting people because we don't want to make waves. We don't want to look like a hater. Oh nah, it's time to pour that whole bucket out, yo. So I'm with all of that. Because again, if we don't call them out again, even that's why I asked what is accountability? Is accountability public shame? Is accountability putting you on Front Street? Is accountability letting people know, yo, they not doing what they supposed to do with the money? And only way I can do something about it is to let y'all know this is whatever, because they gonna keep getting these checks if everyone keep letting it happen. So
But
I'm just saying I'm good with it all, man.
well, I
I'm good
think
Hey,
with it
Chuck,
that's
all.
let me say this, Shaka. It's important because we have certain pastors that go on certain stations at 10 p.m. and they call out certain people. And then those certain pastors, for example, had somebody murdered behind the church where they at. And you having an organization like We Are Us who goes to go embrace the family. You know about that, but yet you haven't been over there. No, none of the leaders from your church have been over there to engage, but yet you're on the news pointing fingers and calling people out. That's a problem.
That's the
That's a
problem.
problem. When will the church be the church and show the power of God in the community? We got the power. We just got to use it.
so that's a very interesting point to make because one of the things that and Dr. Hall just put it on there, come from behind the walls. I it's been in my spirit to really call for collaboration,
Yeah.
right? That I do community very well. And I ain't talking about one back to school drive. I'm talking about the level of engagement. When do we, because the call out is important, right? Beyond the call out, are we going to make the call for collaboration? All faith leaders come to this space and we going to share what we got, share what we know, introduce you to who we know, that sort of thing. Because I do think that there's a spirit of people who may want to be better, but
Yeah,
not know how. And y'all know
yeah,
I was king of calling people out, but I kept
yeah,
running into people who needed me, you know, to be able to help lead them. Now we can't make it a priority for you to do that, right?
absolutely.
For you to the program community into who you are, but showing you some of the ways that you can do that. How do we where because that's what We Are Us is. We Are Us is a collaborative, but everybody ain't gonna walk the street on Monday night, right?
Yeah.
Where are the collaborative spaces and the institutions, aside from the Ministers Conference of Baltimore and vicinity, where pastors can come together? Because you and your wife embrace me to help me in ways that I need help. But my thing is, what institution does a young
Yeah.
pastor in Baltimore, or a young faith leader, community leader? I want to be about a good work. Where do they go to learn that?
Yeah, man, I love that statement. That's great. And I think that we as pastors and as faith leaders, the first thing we've got to do is put down our egos. You may not be the one that's in charge. You may not be the front man, but do you believe in the vision? Do you see the outcomes? Your name may not be the one on the flyer. Your face may not. Can we put down our egos for a common cause, to turn this city around? So I think that's the first thing we've got to do is to come together. And you mentioned collaboration. Collaboration doesn't mean me, myself, and I. Is we, it's our, and it's us, which means we're in this together. So I believe that once we find a way to unite and to come together, I think we start there. I think Baltimore has so many young leaders, that are absolutely amazing under the age of 40. Can you imagine if we found a way to collaborate, regardless of your denomination, regardless of your background, regardless of who your covering is, but coming together for one common cause, is and to really display the power of God as one body with many members. If we were to use that model here in the city of Baltimore, we could see outcomes. So I believe that we got to find that group. Pastor Marvin has to find a way to come together and be creative, because the creative juices is in them.
Double L, I'm gonna come to you because I know you got something you want to, but I need to say this while we're talking about this. The objective, right?
Mhm.
Because I don't think that what keeps us apart is anything that makes us different. I
Yeah,
don't think it's, you know, any differences beyond objectives,
yeah.
right? How do we get to the space where we can address the objectives and help people to understand the priority has to be? Because what winds up happening is, if I don't fix what's outside my house, it winds up touching what's in my house. How do we get people to even work that into the objective, to do some of these things that need doing, and stop being so introverted in the way that they approach ministry?
So let me ask you a question, Pastor Marvin. Are the objectives being effectively communicated? And I think that's one of the things that we've got to address. How is it being communicated? Is it being done effectively? Are we haphazardly doing it? So it starts with the communication, and write the vision, right? That's what the Bible says. Write the vision and make it plain, so that those that read it, they can run with it. But if we don't understand the objectives, if we just say, "Hey, we're meeting from prayer on this block," is the objective to pray, or is the objective to
A
really
platform.
infect change? Yeah. What's the objective? What's the goal? What's the outcome?
Double L.
Well, I mean, you kind of touched on exactly what I was going to mention, and Pastor Burton just kind of wrapped it up. My question though is, are we asking for help
Yeah.
specifically though, not just putting it out there and everybody join, but understanding that everybody has a distinctive gift and talent for their ministry, and everybody's frontline mindset may not be we're good at outreach. but you're good at something, and that something that you have can contribute to what it is that we're doing. But creating the objective and making that clear, and actually asking specifically, like, I see you, Pastor X, at this ministry doing this, and we can use that. I think a lot of times we assume that, oh, somebody will do it, somebody else will handle that, and they don't necessarily need me. But a part of that collaboration isn't just opening the door for invitation. Sometimes it requires us to be direct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we go back to the conversation that we were having earlier, because, the only space that we control sometimes in our community is the building, right? I got a nice space that I rent, and one of the things that I've done is made it a practice of never telling people no, when I can, so if it's a program out there that's looking for a space to do some programming, they can come to my space, right? But, is that something that's happening across the board?
But you have insurance, Pastor. Everybody's like, I'm just being honest. Everybody's
terrible.
Everybody is for certain things.
She's throwing shots.
You can't just have people walk up in the church when you know that if they trip and fall,
they're in trouble.
Food. So
that's good.
You have to be strategic when you're dealing with certain. I can't open my doors to that. I can't offer Wi-Fi because my church don't have Wi-Fi. But Sister Judy with the arms, like, she'll cook up some sandwiches and drop them off. But we have to be strategic in our communication and really build genuine bonds across the board if we really want to see true collaboration.
I like that. That's good.
Your network is your network.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So when we look at this and we see the great things that We Are Us is doing, what are some of the places and spaces where people can connect to some of the work? Are you guys fully staffed when it comes down to the work that's happening around the curfew? Is there a need for more men? The mentor program, talk about it.
Good question. We had a meeting today with Director Jackson, last minute meeting, because there's more opportunities for us to bring on more manpower. So We Are Us will be engaging as of last week, and we'll be going all the way through to Labor Day weekend. So we'll be out there engaging Fridays and Saturdays. So you'll see us out there in the streets from like 9 to 1, maybe 8 to 2, around those areas. So yes, we do have need for more manpower. And guess what, Pastor Marvin? They're going to receive a stipend for the work that they do. We're going to pay them just to help the young people. So we're not asking you to volunteer your time. We want you to get paid for, giving up your time. So you can go to weourusmovement.org, weourusmovement.org, to find out where we'll be, where we are, and what we'll be doing. And one of the new initiatives, Pastor Marvin, which you are a part of, we're even going to be dealing with this whole mental health piece, with our men, dealing with their emotions, dealing with their mental, because we've seen so much out in these streets over these last 2 years that our men, they need to be ministered to. They need to be poured back into. So we're going to be going through some training and some classes and some teachings. Dr. Kevin Daniels, he'll be assisting with that piece, and we'll be opening up to the public, so that individuals can really receive those talks and those trainings. I'll never forget, and I'll leave you with this. Dr. Daniels invited me to one of the classes that We Are Us hosted. This is about 2 years ago, and I thought I was just there just to support, because it was hosted by We Are Us. Man, when I left, when we closed down, I felt myself in tears, and I couldn't stop crying, because it was so engaging to where it tapped into my emotions. I began to talk about my dad and a relationship about I'm like, man, I'm sorry, this is not for me. Dr. Daniel say, no, it is for you. This is for you. So as a man, we have problems really dealing with our emotions, and a lot of times we internalize what we should be releasing. I know it's a whole nother, that's another show. But we have problems,
because healing is the needed thing in our communities, man.
It's
It's not punitive, and I know a lot of people objected to the mayor taking an approach that would be 5 years and bringing about a healing process. But healing is what's needed, and when you boots on the ground in these communities and you engaging these people, you literally are able to see. I see myself. I see how angry. A brother told me today that the video of me and the cop has surfaced on TikTok, and where that's been 5 years ago, and it's kind of been out of circulation on many platforms. You know, I know how angry I was and how
Yeah.
many things I had to address within me
Yeah.
to better manage the opportunity that God had given me to be a change agent, right? Because
Yeah.
who I am today wouldn't have handled that situation the same way, right? But that's a product of growth and development. So if we're bringing growth and development to the community, to the folks that are in need of real growth and development, as opposed to putting them in prisons that don't provoke growth or development,
Yeah.
we see real change.
We've got to deal with our own inner emotions, because it's hard as a man. It's going to be hard to help somebody from a broken place. How can you lead a young man to a healed and whole area if you yourself is still broken in those places? So we've got to deal with us. We've got to deal with our mental. We've got to deal with our emotions. And it's very important that men take those mental health days. Deal with you. It's okay to say I'm not in a good place. It's okay to say I need help. We as men, we have challenges saying I need help. We don't like saying that, but we've got to learn to do that so that we can be a help and strength to the next generation.
I think it's super important that we do that. And that is a conversation that we need to have, Pastor. So we're going to need to have you back on the show to kind of have that conversation because, I was around some of the brothers today. And in our last meeting, I was very candid with the brothers about the dark place that I sunk into dealing with grief. And it led to probably a year away from the work of We Are Us. And then a 3 month, I think it was 3 months, Shaka, that we wasn't on the air. But I'm grateful that I had that time to engage Marvin and to deal with Marvin. So
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
very, very important conversation. And we do. How can men get connected to We Are Us if they're interested in being a part of those opportunities to be change agents in downtown, engaging our young people?
Yes, sir. Listen, please go to weourusmovement.org. Again, weourusmovement.org. We're currently in our open enrollment and recruiting season. We're looking to engage. Listen, our goal is to have 10,000 Black men that's connected to the movement. So we're looking to connect with you. Please go to weourusmovement.org. We would love for you to submit your information so that we can connect with you ASAP. We need you. Baltimore City needs you. Our young people need you. So it's very important that we come together collectively, so that it doesn't matter your faith, doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter your race. Listen, doesn't matter how much money you make, doesn't matter what side of town you're from. We all have the same goal in mind, and that's to make an impact in the city of Baltimore and to help our young people.
There he is, Pastor Antoine Burton, Pastor Changing Lives Ministries of Baltimore, president of the We Are Us Unity Engagement Men's Movement. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Pastor. Appreciate you always. And look, we look forward to having the conversation again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you to the team. Thank you all.
All right, all right, all right. Listen, y'all. Next week, we want y'all to tune in. We're going to have Dr. Tyrone Powers on here, and he's going to talk to us about some of the numbers and what the numbers really mean, what they may not mean. As we start to see these declines, there's not a more brilliant mind to analyze this stuff than Dr. Tyrone Powers, former FBI agent, current consultant on many different levels to many different people about things that involve community, law enforcement. This brother is just the juice. So make sure you tune in for that. I gotta say thank you, Double L, for being with us today. You always bring the fire. I call you, I've affectionately dubbed you Miss Hot Take. All right, Miss Hot Take, Double L, Lady Lisha in the building. We thank you, Shaka Pitts, on the ones and twos, making the magic happen. Now you on screen and behind the scenes. It didn't work for me when I tried it, but you missed the versatility. So we thank you. We also sending love and a shout out to our other co-host, Chelsea, Thekeptwoman, who wasn't able to be with us tonight. We apologize for the technical difficulties. I've been having issues all day, but guess what? We still were able to get that good message out. Thank you, and you, everyone who tuned in. You came, you heard, you rode out with us, you hung out with us. Listen, I always tell y'all, when we are on this platform, we ain't looking to try to be the hot topic or the sexy topic. We want to make sure that we bringing you good information. And I believe Pastor Antoine Burton broke down some intricacies of the curfew and some other elements of what's taking place in Baltimore concerning our young people that wasn't in the headlines. It hasn't been reported by what they call old media. So make sure you tune into the Chop Shop Weekly so that you can get this intimate perspective of what's happening in the city of Baltimore, in and around the kingdom and the community, because when they come together, y'all, we are better. I tell you every week in closing, trust God. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Be the change that you want to see. I am literally so excited about this flag football league. It's going to take some of my time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take effort. But I believe it's going to save lives in the community that I love. When you go to the basketball court with your son, grab your neighbor's son. Because sometimes if you don't, it'll be your neighbor's son that turn the gun on yours. And above and beyond any and everything else, always remember that we can be more. I love you, Baltimore.
I can be more. There's nothing that I can't achieve if I just believe. You can be more. You can make every dream a reality. We can be more. Be more, be more.
Yeah.
I can be more.
I wake up every day and try to be more. I pray I be more. It's easy to achieve anything you believe. Like hold your head high. Girl, you got a reason to breathe. I see a rare mind. Boy, you got a reason to dream. Let's take flight. Give the children a reason to see redemption. We grow up in the jacks where it's evil and wicked. Where the people with success don't want to send you a visit. But we still finna make this life worth living. Now throw your hands to the sky if you feel it. Hey, throw your hands to the sky if you the realest. You got a vision. Let's put them pistols away and make sure the OGs keep the community safe. In the world where the ladies crying, the babies dying, I think we can create that space to make a way for the ladies to ride and make baby giants. Be more, believe, let's play. I'm so in love with life.
There's nothing that
Little.
I can't achieve if I just believe. You